Hello, my name is Tom Herald. I'm with the Clark University Small Business Development Center. Welcome to the American Dream Podcast. The American Dream Podcast is a routine show that we like to put together where we do interviews with local business owners. And the whole purpose is to really center around the American dream, what we see it as with entrepreneurship. Today, what I'm going to be talking about are key traits of a successful entrepreneur. I've broken it down into 12 key traits that we're going to do, and hopefully it's going to give you some background of just what we have in common as business owners and as entrepreneurs. The first of those key traits is getting to know your why, what we call the burning desire. You have to have something that gets you up in the morning. It makes you want to go conquer the world and succeed. It's really important as we have the highs and the lows, but that burning desire is what's going to get you through the rough times when business isn't going so well. Simon Sinek is one of my favorite authors. He's known as the why guy. He talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I spend a lot of time with our business owners, our clients that we have, really getting to know their why, because I want to understand what their true motivators are. Initiative. Key trait number 2 is knowing what the initiative is. Having that initiative to be able to figure things out. Nobody's going to give you the model or a recipe or the roadmap to success. It's going to take you trying to figure it out as you go. And what I like to look at is, President Obama, he was talking about traits he likes to see in young new leaders coming about. That's something that's so important, I think, too, with business owners, because of that reason, there is no answer to the problems that you have to solve. And it's much better being around people that have a figure-it-out mentality. If they see a problem, they don't just want to tell you about the problem. Tons of people can do that. They can identify a problem and tell you all the details about it. But it takes a lot of initiative to be able to solve the problem, and more importantly, take the responsibility to try to fix that problem. That's initiative. It's a key trait for a business owner. I like this next part because it talks about energy levels. And my grandfather had a quote I used a long time ago where he said, 1 ounce of negative outweighs a pound of positive. And if you think about the Winnie the Pooh cartoon from years ago, who wants to be around Eeyore? Don't be an Eeyore. Negative energy drains the whole team. As a business owner, we have to get people up and get their energy level high. It's that energy level that's going to attract people to you and to that business. So I like to say having high energy is a key element to success. Perseverance. It's the next element. Perseverance is something that when things don't go well, it's being able to get back up, dust yourself off, and know that you're going to get there. I love the quote where it says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I sure know how to do it. A lot of entrepreneurs really take that mindset because they don't know where they're going yet, but they're going to figure it out and how to get there. It takes perseverance to be able to do that. Going to be plenty of setbacks, but your belief inside goes back to that initial why. That perseverance is what's going to take you and being able to get you to that next level. Accountability. We spend a lot of time talking about accountability versus responsibility. One key difference between the two, responsibility is for just basically for getting something done. But when you're accountable for results. We can get things done on a small level, and that's the responsibility side. But finding somebody that you can have as an accountability partner is a key element. It's a key important element for you to actually gaining traction with your business and making things done or get done for yourself. Imagine going to the gym and not having your intentions there. If you go to the gym and you hire a personal trainer, or if you come to the SBDC and you use one of our mentors as a coach, using a coach as an accountability partner for being able to measure those milestones and your success against them. The next element is being a problem solver. Business owners really like to we spend a lot of time during the day solving problems. I like to look at this. Just today alone, I've had several issues that I've had to solve for businesses that I own, but also with clients that I have. We solve problems. and to solve problems, you have to find them. Looking for problems all the time. They're around us all the time. But like I said earlier, you can identify a problem, get into the details of it. But it's those people that can actually find the solutions. That's the ones that can create innovations or inventions that solve and change the world. You think about Steve Jobs with the iPod and the iPhone, the problems that he was able to solve with that, but the impact that's there that they've left on society today. Next one's a little bit different. You have to have the ability to work alone. Work alone is you don't necessarily have to have a boss. And I learned a long time ago when I started my first business. It was a retail car dealership. And I was taught a phrase that every morning when I would get in, I would open up that business and turn the open sign on, or to flip it around, is when I stick with the key in the door, the mindset that is there is my income is directly proportional to the amount of effort that I give. I haven't forgotten that to this day, but that's taught me to find ways to keep myself motivated. And we look at things that people have to be able to be successful: aptitude, drive, and character. But having that drive, you've got to be able to be self-motivating, have the ability to problem solve along yourself or by yourself. And you can always go out and get help, but being able to work alone, there's nobody that's there that's going to be watching the clock, when you're going to start and end your day. And ambiguity. Entrepreneurs thrive in ambiguity. When you can't figure out a problem, I'm still going to be able to figure out what that scenario is. I'm still going to be able to figure out what the solution is. And some of my students that I have, they get frustrated with me because I don't give them a roadmap. I'll give them a problem to solve, but I won't tell them solutions. I'll let them try to figure it out. And the reason I want to do that is because leadership is truly being able to solve a problem a creative way, ingenious way, use ingenuity and innovation to be able to come to achieve goals and so forth. That's the heart of an entrepreneur, being able to do that. And it takes an ability to be able to thrive in ambiguity. The next one deals with sales. All business is about people. I talk about that all the time. And whether it's employees, customers, or people that you want to have that's influencers in your community, you have to have the ability to persuade them. We need to be persuasive. Being persuasive, asking questions, and understanding what your market is, that's an important element that's there for success. But you have to be able to sell your thoughts and your ideas and ultimately your solutions. Value of money, that's the next trait. One of our associates that we have in business in the Worcester community is from Niche Hospitality. It's Mike Covino. He had a quote that I love to use. He talks about taking a dollar, instead of looking at it as being $1 bill, he breaks that down into 100 pennies. So everything is thought of as a percentage. I use that, and I think it's a very strong point to have for business owners to really emphasize the value of money. Everything's broken down into a percentage. You take that $1 as 100 pennies, and no matter what you have, it's a percentage of that dollar. You start thinking about gross profit even as a percentage of your revenue, net profit as a percentage of your revenue. You start thinking about your rent payments as a percentage of revenue. But it gets you in that mindset of thinking percentages and ultimately your net profitability. The next trait is understanding your market. You have to have an ability to connect with your customers. To do that, you first need to understand what they want, but more importantly, what they need. We think about this all the time, and I see this with clients frequently where I've got a great idea. Well, that great idea is in my mind and it's in my heart. We can have that and we take that to market, but it could quickly fail. And I think one of the biggest reasons that business owners fail is that they don't really understand their market. And being able to do that, you're going to take a chance and take your idea, and then you're going to react to how the market reacts to you. It's an important thing to realize that from a customer's perspective, they don't really care about you or me. They don't care about us. They don't care about our product or service or our idea. What they care about is how can that product or service help them. That's what they're looking for. How can that product or service what's the attraction features for them with that product or service? And when we look at that from their perspective, we start thinking about understanding what their needs are. Anyway, that's an important element, and A solution to that is really getting to know your market, writing a good, thorough marketing plan. And the first part of that is doing a thorough marketing analysis. I like to start with what's called a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to your business idea. Anyway, you really get to know your market. The last element that I have to talk about is what I call an acronym. It's called GRIT. Every entrepreneur needs to have grit. It's that thing that gets you over the hump. It's that thing that gets you through the rough periods of time. But I've broken it down into an acronym. The first is G, having a growth mindset. G stands for that growth mindset. And when you're always learning, you realize that knowledge is power. And to be successful in business, you really have to know what's going on in people's minds, their hearts, and the market. But you need to learn how to be an expert at your craft, at your trade. That growth mindset will enable you to do that. Always be learning. The R stands for resilience. Getting back up when you get knocked down. Being resilient is an important thing. Never giving up. Henry Ford, he went bankrupt 7 times before he got it successful. There's several stories that are like that. Thomas Edison was one of his mentors and one of his idols that he had growing up. 5,280 attempts to get the light bulb right before he got it right. I remember that because that's how many feet are in a mile. 5,000 plus attempts. He didn't give up, and I think both of those guys represent the art of being resilient. I stands for initiative. We talked about that earlier, but having initiative is a key trait of an entrepreneur and is part of what I call grit. The last one is tenacity. The T stands for tenacity. An entrepreneur must be tenacious in the market, competitive, but also not just getting through with resilience, but tenacious on how you negotiate deals, tenacious on how you work to keep that business alive. The business, the energy, and everything that it takes a tenacious owner behind it. What I'm doing today is just giving you a quick snapshot as we reintroduce the American Dream podcast today, and it's to give you somewhat of a foundation that we call the 12 key traits for entrepreneurs.